The New York Mets get spurred by Roki Sasaki as well as all the East Coast teams. We have baseball releasing their new top 101 prospect list, and 5 New York Mets make it on that list. The final 2 might surprise you. It surprised me. 2 guys got left out of the top 100 that I'm kind of blown away by. Plus, there are 2 free agents that I think the Mets need to target to make this a successful 2025 season. We're going to get into all that next on MetCast. Welcome back to MetCast, friends. As always, I am Rain. If you're enjoying our content, we just ask you to smash that like button and give us a subscribe. Help us grow this channel and reach our subscriber goal of 4,000. And before we get into today's episode, this Thursday night, we are going to have Mike Puma of the New York Post right here live on MetCast. Dan and myself will be interviewing him and taking your comments, your questions, and your concerns right to the Mets beat reporter. Mike's been covering the Mets for what feels for forever. We've had him over on our X Spaces, and now he's coming on to our YouTube, X, and Facebook Live. So feel free to chime in 8:30 this Thursday night. But let's get into it. Roki Sasaki has clearly made it known. I think by all means, he is going to be a Los Angeles Dodger. Shocker. We all know that there's no shock there. We've been saying it since the beginning. All we kept hearing was he doesn't want the big city. He doesn't want the spotlight. His agent, Jim Wolf, said he had issues with the media back in Japan when he would struggle. He's a younger guy. But we saw he was meeting with the Padres earlier. I believe it was earlier yesterday, throwing with some of the teammates, yada, yada. But then today the report came out that, yes, he is meeting with the Los Angeles Dodgers last, which usually means the last guy to meet with him. We all know what happened. So they're going to have Roki Sasaki, Yamamoto, and Ohtani, all dominant pitchers in that rotation. But if it somehow comes to fruition and he ends up being a San Diego Padre, I would like that very much. And I think you would too. Let them go beat each other up in the West between the Padres, the Giants, and the Dodgers, and let us deal with the East. I've been saying this all offseason. We need to worry about the NL East. Stop worrying about what the Dodgers are doing. I wanted to get to some comments by Ken Rosenthal, who did an interview earlier today, talking about Roki Sasaki. It's a really quick video. We'll nail that. Then we will move on to MLB's top 100 that was just released, and then we'll move on to the two free agents, that I think the Mets must target this offseason. Let's take a look. Here is Ken Rosenthal and his comments on the Roki Sasaki situation.
I want your prediction. Where does he go?
I still would have to go with the chalk, the Dodgers. But I would not be surprised by the Padres. I would be surprised by the Blue Jays, but the Padres really would not surprise me.
Think about that, though. The Blue Jays are supposedly still in on this guy. We all know that's a load of crap. They're in on Corbin Burns. They're in on Juan Soto. They're in on Yamamoto. They're in on Ohtani. They simply don't get anyone. The only reason why Hoffman ended up going and signing there is because Hoffman's agreement with Baltimore, which he did have, failed because of physical. So he ran to the Blue Jays at first sight to make sure he got his money. He wasn't failed by Blue Jays. The Blue Jays signed him, but he's there. He is the only significant piece. They're more worried about landing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for the long term, which we all know is most likely not going to happen. And Vladdy will hit free agency this offseason.
And I don't know that a kid like this, you say, well, the owner's widow, the late owner's widow is suing the two brothers. I don't know that it's going to matter to Roki Sasaki. Maybe it should. And maybe if he's looking at the bigger picture, that's what he's looking at. But he also could say, listen, this is going to resolve. I'm going to be in San Diego. I'm going to be with you, Darvish. I'm going to be with a team that has been on the road.
Let's hope that's the situation. Be with you, Darvish. Be with Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts. All those guys over there don't go to the Dodgers.
Right. So San Diego would not surprise me. Toronto would, for the reasons that I said before.
I want your
and those are the comments from Ken Rosenthal in regard to Sasaki. Simple, quick. He thinks it's going to be the Dodgers or San Diego. It sounds like he's thinking it's more likely going to be San Diego, which I would love nothing more. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you want him going to San Diego or the Dodgers? I'll feel free to debate me on this, but I think with everything in my being, he needs to go to the San Diego Padres. Let them go beat up on each other out there in the West. But now enough of Roki Sasaki. Let's get into the new baseball's top 101 list. Which Mets made it and what's going on with that list? Let's take a look. So here we have it from Baseball Prospectus, the Mets player development, which is verified by the New York Mets. You can see the little Mets logo there. And at number 39, no surprise here, Brandon Sproat, who's absolutely shot up the list of prospects this offseason. He started out way below, coming out of Florida, just a simple relief pitcher. Now he's shot up all the way to 39. The hard-throwing right-hander out of Florida. Throws between 99 and 101 miles an hour, dominated down in AA last year, struggled once promoted to AAA. But let's not forget what David Stern said. He said he dominated at single A, high A, AA, wherever he was. And now they wanted him to face some more stiff competition. They wanted to see how he could bounce back. I fully expect him to be up with the major league club either May or June of this year. He's another depth option that they have at starting pitcher. So this is more of a fallback option. I'm glad that he's going to be in the minors this year, but he's another guy who's ready to come up to the major leagues. Then at number 48, we have Jet Williams. We feel like we've been hearing about him forever since he was a first-round pick right next to Kevin Parada. They were drafted back-to-back in the first round with that compensatory pick. Keep it a buck. I don't know what Jet Williams is going to end up being. He is shorter in stature, packs a punch, natural shortstop. I don't think he's going to play shortstop in the long run. Unfortunately, Jet is my favorite prospect of all, but I think that he may be used as a trade piece. Some people say he could play second base or center field. It's yet to be seen, but clearly he's not going to be a shortstop with this team. And the Mets already have other prospects that are, obviously second base that we'll get to in a minute. Then you have Carson Beige, who we drafted the first round recently, pitcher and hitter. He's probably going to be just a regular hitter. We all seen that for the last year, that he's just going to be a hitter. He has been absolutely raking. He's coming in at number 71, which is great to see because he was just recently drafted. Then we have Noah McLean, again, known for his arm and bat, but he is kind of like a do-it-all kind of person. He definitely has some raw power when you're looking at him. He comes in at number 74. And Jonathan Tung at number 75. A lot of people seem to be high on him. He is another right-hander. He came out of college. He tops out at 97 miles an hour. He really sits 94, 95. They feel like maybe the Mets pitching lab could make his velocity tick up a little bit more. A lot of people are high on him, but why I love this at number 75 is think about the Mets over the last few years. They have not developed any starting pitching since the Harvey, Matz, all those guys have come up. We haven't developed any pitching, and you're looking on the market. Look at what these pitchers are going for. Look at what a guy like Garrett Crochet with one really good year does. He gets the biggest haul in baseball. So it's good to see that. I will say, I'm very surprised that Ryan Clifford is not on this list. I'm also surprised that Acuna is not on this list, and really surprised that Drew Gilbert's not on this list. Maybe because Gilbert was hurt last year, but Ryan Clifford not making this list is a little shocking to me. The first baseman, raw power, lefty. The numbers speak for themselves. He has a high whiff rate right now, but maybe it's because he's very young. By next year, I fully expect him to be on this list. Let me know what you guys think of this list down in the comments. Am I missing anybody? Where do you think Mauricio ends up on this list? Because technically he is still a prospect. In my prospect rankings, we had him 4 heading into the offseason. That might change based on some winter ball stuff, but Acuna won MVP of the Winter League, for crying out loud, and he's not a top 100 prospect. I find that very hard to believe. And also, some people are going to say, well, he was with the Major League Club last year. That doesn't mean anything. And odds are he's going to start out in AAA this year, because I presume that Jeff McNeil is going to be the starting second baseman this season, and they're going to want to get him full-time at bats. Well, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who should be the starting second baseman heading into the season? There's been a lot of arguments back and forth on Facebook and X lately. Should it be McNeil? Should it be Acuna? But remember, McNeil's making $15.5 million this year, next year, and I believe the following year he's got some type of option. So he's under contract for a few more years. Maybe the Mets move that contract in a trade, and now that Roki Sasaki is on the verge of signing, I think that this will start to move the market along. All these teams thought they were in on him, and once they're not in on him, maybe they'll free up teams to make some deals. I fully expect at least one of these top 100 prospects to be dealt this offseason. maybe in a Castillo trade, maybe in a Cease trade, something like that to get a frontline starting pitcher. Let me know who you guys would target down in the comments. But now I want to get to two guys that I'm extremely high on, one that I've covered before on this channel, another one who I haven't totally covered, but I think he'd be a perfect fit for this team. Let's take a look. So here we have it, the designated hitter / outfielder for this offseason. I would love for the Mets to go out, get Jurickson Profar in 158 games last year, 158 hits, 94 runs, 84 RBIs, 24 home runs, 280 batting average, WRC plus of 139. Don't forget the league average is 100, so he's well above league average. I don't think it would take a long-term contract as he's coming from San Diego, coming off one really good season, but he might be a player that we could look into to really solidify this lineup going down the line. Plus, he could play in the outfield, which I know the Mets are kind of looking for. We saw them get spurred on the Teoscar Hernandez, offer him a 2-year contract. So clearly they're trying to add a potential outfield bat, especially with Brandon Nimmo's foot having the plantar fasciitis, which could flare up at any time. I find it very hard to believe that this team is going to go into 2025 with Jose Siri, who hit 188 last season, as their starting center fielder. Hell of an outfielder, great base runner, could steal some bags, but this guy cannot get on base for the life of him. He strikes out like crazy, one of the highest whiff rates in baseball. I think the Mets need to go out and get a legitimate center fielder. We know that's a potential option. Maybe with this Pete stuff coming down, as we saw earlier today, Jim Duquette, for all you people out there that follow him, specifically said that David Stearns is not going to bet against himself when it comes to to Pete Alonso. Maybe Steve Cohen would have to step in. I highly doubt Steve Cohen's going to step in any of these negotiations going forward. He stepped in with the Juan Soto, but when you're dealing with the contract of that magnitude, then it makes sense. But outside of that, I don't think they're going to. Now let's get to an arm that I would love for the New York Mets to go out there and get. Let's take a look. So here you have it, Tanner Scott. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, but the hard-throwing lefty throws 99 miles an hour. Last year, 72 innings pitched, 1.75 ERA. Look at that KP9, 10.5, 1.125 whip. He is an absolute stud, would be a great setup, man. I predict he's going to get around 3 years, $17.5 million a year. Some people have come out and said that, oh, he's looking for that 4-year, $80 million contract. I don't think anybody's going to pay him, but I do think it's realistic to think that he might get $17 million a year, $16 to $17 million a year over 3 years. And I absolutely think that the New York Mets must be involved in Tanner Scott. Let me know if you guys agree with me. Do you want Tanner Scott? There's a couple other arms out there that I know of, but I think Tanner Scott would be that really hard-throwing lefty. Add him to the pen, him, Daniel Nunez, Reed Garrett. You have a bunch of these guys coming up. Hell, maybe as the postseason comes around, if Brandon Sproat turns out to be something, you move Clay Holmes back into the bullpen, who was an all-star, and we could have a dominant bullpen. I think that could be one of our strengths. If we're not going to have one of these crazy rich starting pitching rotations, we make it through the bullpen. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Guys, I want to just remind you again, Mike Puma is going to be on our show this Thursday night live. Be sure to come in, leave your questions, comments, and concerns. MLB hot stove all around Major League Baseball. He's going to talk about the Juan Soto situation, what the heck's going on with Pete Alonso. Are the Mets looking to add an arm? And if any news comes in before that, we'll be sure to be right here live with you guys. As always, if you like this channel, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, and we will see you guys Thursday night. As always, thank you for sticking around. Take care.